What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Throttled Roots podcast, recorded right here at our home in our studio at Ventura Harley-Davidson. If you're looking for a new, pre-owned, or any service done to your bike, Ventura Harley-Davidson is the only place that you need to come and see. And of course, this episode brought to you, sponsored by none other than Joe. Hit him with it.
Law Tigers.
Law Tigers, baby. If you ever get involved in a motorcycle accident, your insurance company ain't going to look out for you. Make sure that you call Law Tigers. They got your back. 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. All right, we got the business out the way, dog. All right, first things first. I'm going to be real with you guys. It was my six-year wedding anniversary last night. And the wife and I don't go out ever. So you combine drinking, which we don't drink too much either, combined with lack of sleep, and combined with my 42-year-old age. Boys, rough on these mornings afterwards, man. How old are you, Doug?
About to be 42.
Okay, so you fuck with me. You're in my same range, man.
He's there too.
Yeah, so forgive me if my mind spaces a little bit today, during it. But Casey.
Yes.
Casey is who we have hanging out with us today, all the way up from Temecula. Cafes or Cafes
Customs.
Cafes Customs, man. Well, first of all, let me just tell you, I appreciate when someone takes time. I know both Joe and I do, when they take time out of their life. We all got busy schedules, but when you take time out of yours to come and hang out with us here, we appreciate it and we respect it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming down and hanging out. So, we're gonna dive into it, man. Here's a get down often. I know we follow each other on Instagram, but we ain't never really had a sit down kind of hang out. Let's get to know each other.
Yeah.
And the beauty about what I like with these is that I get to do that right here with the people that decide to watch it, and they get to learn the same thing about you, because a lot of people, follow each other on Instagram, but then don't know all the behind the scenes. They just make their own perception of what your social media is and who you are, and then they kind of make you out to be that person. So I always like having these conversations. First things first, I'm going to do, dog. I appreciate the koozies, by the way, man. Yeah. And I remembered that this was in here. I'm like, oh God, I am so thankful that big one is in there today. Because I'm gonna need it. So appreciate the koozies, man.
Hey, if anybody wants to sponsor us with a refrigerator, man, we need a spot for a refrigerator right there.
Yeah.
It's 805 Coors Light, Monster. Good saying right there.
We always got to plug them, dog. We got to take advantage of that shit, Take advantage of that shit, man. So, tell me, dog. Sounds like a beer cracking open. It reminded me of last night a little bit. A little bit about you then. You're coming from Temecula, born, just so, not deep. Background, a little context about you.
Quick cliff notes. I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona.
Desert boy.
Yeah. Went to school out there. Graduated in 2001. Then went to MMI. And then after that, moved to North County, San Diego to go work for a Harley dealership out there. And have been in Southern California since 2003. Just working on Harleys.
Okay. So I would say that's a Southern California native now. I mean, 2003, 20 plus years at this point,
Yeah.
I'm the same age. I graduated in 2001 too.
Yeah.
So we're all same.
I've been in California longer than Arizona now, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in California. You're in California.
So the industry, the business, the job is what kind of brought you out here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the cannabis.
They say there's no coast like the West Coast, man, and it's notoriety for a lot of different things. That'd be one of them, I guess.
The reason we're the biggest agriculture state in the world, I guess, right?
This is a Keep It Real podcast, right?
This is a Keep It Real podcast, man. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Southern California. I mean, come on, Snoop Dogg. Come on, Snoop Dogg's a representative of around here, man.
Yep.
So it sounds like then motorcycles have just been around kind of, or at least like a passion, a drive involved in your life forever.
Yeah. So as a kid, it actually started in Legos, then transitioned into RC cars. Was always into BMX bikes, and then probably about the time I turned 11, got into motorsports with quads and dirt bikes, and I actually went to MMI for quads, dirt bikes, jet skis, sport bikes, but then started hanging around some guys in the Harley classes and then started infiltrating their classes and kind of got lured into it, you know. So
Okay. All right. That's probably how it. We can see how it can
It's
go
something
down that
that
way.
turned into a passion, for you.
yeah,
You know,
riding in general has always been a huge passion. I'm like, if it's got wheels and a motor, I'm pretty into it.
From generations up, or that's from you, like pops, grandpas, or like
My dad was into muscle cars.
some
So yeah,
gearhead kind of driven. Yeah,
yeah, so
it's most of us. That's most of us.
no, not too many people in my family like were into like the motorsports part of it, like with handlebars and stuff. So,
Okay.
but that was something.
So you kind of kickstarted that thing. It sounds like.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Now my oldest son, he's all about his dirt bike.
So you got kids then.
Yeah, I got three of them, three boys.
Yeah. Oh, you're on the other end of me then, man. I got 3 girls. Yeah. Joe's 2 girls and a boy.
2 girls and a boy.
2 girls. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're each on the end of raising 3 of them. What are your age group?
12, 11, and 8.
Okay. So you were kind of like me when I turned it out, but you kind of got 8 is still dependent, but there's some dependency there, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I got the 3 and the 4-year-old dog.
Yeah.
So I turned that dial all the way back, all the way back, man. So, do they ride then? Does just
So my 12 and 11-year-old definitely both like riding. My 12-year-old likes to ride probably the most,
okay?
and he's a savage on something with the throttle. Whether it be like a street bike or a dirt bike, like
Yeah,
he gets down. And then my 11-year-old, he's pretty good at it, but my 8-year-old, he'll come around eventually.
it takes some. I'm trying to get my kids on it, and as much as I want to. I guess push them is the wrong word, but as much as I really want to shove them in that
Yeah,
direction of
right.
doing it, I'm also just providing the tools and being like, I'm trying to be encouraging, like with it,
Yeah.
because I don't want it to be like against it in any way.
Yeah.
But some of them take a little bit longer.
I was actually kind of thinking, since we're on the subject of kids, it's been crossing my mind actually the last week. I was thinking about we should do like kind of like Bryce does for his Christmas party and stuff. We should do like a Strider race for kids at the
Yeah.
bike night.
Yeah.
And just have hey, bring your kid's Strider out and do a little Strider race for them. You
That
know what I
would be
mean?
cool.
Not a slow race, just fastest. Just get the kids involved.
Strider drag
I thought
racing.
about that. I just started thinking about that. Like
I
a
think we
week or
should
two
do it.
ago.
Why not? Ain't
That'd be
nothing
pretty
holding
cool.
us back.
Yeah.
And especially because this last one, I think that's what was dope about us switching the spot that I like. Sorry to get off subject.
Yeah.
Is that Colton's kid came out,
Yeah.
and when Colton's kid was out there on his e-bike, do it, and I'm like, oh yeah. We could bring the kids out here and let them have a little
Yeah,
fun and shit,
exactly.
man.
So
Yeah.
it's like that's another way we could get kids involved in
For
it,
sure.
It'd be
Yeah,
pretty fun.
when we have business ideas, we gotta let them fly, dog. We got to work around here, dog. We have,
Yeah, we're in the car. This make me
Yeah.
forget. I don't wait.
we got
Say like snowpod, the camera.
That's it, man. That's
Go
it,
back to the notes.
dog. So motorcycles around then your whole kind of life. Then sounds like your kid, for the most part, your kids are kind of involved in it just as well. I mean, is the shop a full time get down for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so your kids make the connection. Dad rides. Dad works on them. This is a thing.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yeah, this is life. It's not only fun, but it's paying the bills.
Yeah.
It's doing this. It's doing that too.
Prior to the shop, I worked for the Harley dealerships for 16 years before opening the shop, but I always did side work at home. So they always knew the garage is like, also
yeah.
like a place to make money and work on bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm raising mine kind of the same way. I keep the garage open. They go and play around. They'll come in the garage, grab a tool, start banging on something they're not supposed to. I want to. I'll tell you what, dog. The older I'm getting, that type of stuff is rich to me. Like I like the money. I like the money, dog.
Amen to that.
But that type of stuff, I'm like, damn, that's like it hits harder for me now. Older age, I guess that's what it is. More wisdom, all that bullshit.
That, and you have an older daughter too, so you kind of put your younger father at one point, now you're an older father, so you see the comparisons and the differences and within yourself. You know what I mean, not just through eyes of other people. You're seeing it, you're feeling it, you're doing it.
And they're going to be core memories for those kids, man. For my kids, I'm hoping that and I'm sure that they will. They'll just remember playing in the backyard, coming around, dad in the garage, helping dad. They'll just remember, and guys, Joe being at the pad, they'll remember that stuff. And for me, I think that's why I'm like, oh, that's like a rich feeling. Like that's a different type of rich because I'm gonna pass that shit on to them. And chances are they want to meet someone like dad, and then,
You were raised, I'm sure you were the same, you like you said, your dad's into muscle cars, you got that's the way you're raised, man. You come
Yeah.
over, your dad's in the garage working on cars with his buddies, drinking beers and having a good time, and that's kind of what you bring up. I'd rather do that than go to a club or something any day of
Yeah.
the week, man.
Just last week, my 12-year-old, his name's Daniel. Daniel and I were putting a cam in his dirt bike, and the weekend before we did suspension work.
That's
So
awesome.
it's like, and I even asked him like, "Hey, what's your favorite part about working on the dirt bike?" He's like, appreciating what the next upgrade does to it.
That's dope.
So
That's cool.
it's like you said, those core memories.
Yeah.
That's like,
That's cool. He's seeing, and he is. Yeah, I mean, it's how old? That's the 12-year-old. So he's still maybe too young, but it's developing a mindset of seeing dad make the money, do this, and then he's connecting those dots. You can see it. You can kind of see it happen. He's connecting those dots.
See your 12 or 11-year-old stepping into your footsteps of the shop and stuff like that? Do you see that?
I mean, hopefully one of them.
Be nice to hand it down.
You kind of see it, because he's working on stuff already. So that's like, is there interest? Like, do they like going to the shop and stuff like that?
Yeah, or even when they're up in a friend's house and like they need help, like taking a wheel off a dirt bike or something. Like my son jumps right in on it, or
Okay.
They also have e-bikes, or I'll just come home. And they're like, "Look what I did," And so
That's cool.
it's kind of cool.
That's cool, man. So you work for the shop or you work for the Harley dealership for 16 years?
Yeah, a couple different ones. Biggs Harley-Davidson, San Diego Harley-Davidson, and then Temecula Harley-Davidson.
Okay, we've been to Biggs.
We've been to Biggs.
You have been to no. I think you went to Temecula. I wasn't able to make that one.
That shifter show.
Yeah, I went to the shifter show.
Okay, and what was the other one?
San Diego Harley.
I visited San Diego Harley personally, like with the wife and stuff. I think once or twice when we were down there. So all big dealerships, man. Yeah. San Diego.
Bartels we're going to in a couple. I've never been to Bartels, but we are going in a couple weeks.
Bartels is. I don't think I've ever been to.
I've driven by it plenty of times. I always see it, but I've never like pulled off and gone inside there.
Huh. Yeah, their service department's on the second floor.
Oh, really?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's why I like visiting like Harley dealerships because they're all like it's their shop. It's they're all represented.
Yeah.
You don't walk into this dealership and then it's the same at the next one because they need to fit the brand, but it's also their place. So each one is a little bit different. That's what I like visiting about them.
Yeah.
So 16 years then you're working for dealerships, different kind of locations, different places. I'd imagine you've probably seen a lot, done a lot in that 16 years with bikes. So 16 years, that's and you've been in business for how long now?
Coming up on 6 years.
Okay, so you've been over 20 plus years kind of making this a job, making this a career.
40 if you count overtime.
We count overtime, dog. It's not like they ain't hours work, dog. It's not like they ain't hours work. That's no joke.
Yeah, because up until opening the shop, it was like working on bikes 7 days a week. 5 for the dealership, 7 at home.
Come back and you're doing the side work and all that stuff. Yeah, I get it, man. So that's a big plunge then. Business owners wise, it's a different. Now we're not we'd like to be, but we're not in your shoes where where it's just like full time all that because that is another weight. That's a different weight. We're floating another job over here while we're just trying to build what's over here, but carrying it all in that sense. It's a different weight, man. So I say that in that context with you have comfort 16 years of just like a check and like I just got to show up to go to work and work on shit and turn the wrench and that check's going to be there, right? And then taking that plunge is like, well, no, now I got to not only just do that, but I got to get it.
Yeah.
So how was the plunge for you on that? What was the kind of feeling?
I would say definitely scary. Like, I was definitely scared. I was nervous. People saw a lot more in me than I saw in myself, So, but
I like to think that that's a characteristic of somebody that's humble. I like to kind of make that connection. Like,
yeah, no, but my wife, man, she was she had mentioned it for years, and she's always been my biggest supporter, and
that's dope.
I had her support behind it all, along with quite a few other people. But like because back to that weight thing, it's not just like, oh, I'm trying to make this so I can survive. I'm trying to do this so my 3 kids and my wife can survive.
Yeah, and flourish and be
Yeah.
you know.
and keep your shop open and
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
on top of all that, you
yeah,
know.
it's wild too, because what I used to make in a month, like working at the dealership, is now what it costs me just in overhead.
Yeah. Yep. Good.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not just house bills anymore that you're taking care of house bills plus a business.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. And the shop is way more than my mortgage, so
Yeah. I think a lot of people see the glitz and the glam and the oohs and the ahs, and I can understand that. You know, they see this, they see you in a shop, they see like, look at that guy's working on bikes and just living the dream, you know. And I can understand that, but until you're in that position, there's a whole back end of it that
yeah.
I think in our industry doesn't get talked about like enough, like the business end of it. Not everyone, but I feel like
The glitz and the glam is out there.
yeah, I mean,
Promote that.
well, for sure, everyone wants to show the highlights, but I think that's something in our industry that should and needs to be discussed and pointed out more because it looks all like and I think that was what would separate people from just being the content like I want to get in on that shit
Mhm.
because it looks like that when then you step into it and go, oh holy crap, the business end of this shit is a whole separate dynamic. Yeah.
Let alone in the state of California.
Double down when you're doing it in California. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you have a motorcycle shop or anything like every block or every 2 blocks. You
Well, just the
find a
emissions
motorcycle
thing
shop.
probably restrict
Or,
you and all
or
kinds of shit.
or like it's difficult to find an insurance carrier for a motorcycle shop, like, let alone all your like waste oil fees, tire disposal fees,
Right.
like, your quarterly taxes on part sales, like,
All the shit. Oh, yeah, the whole back end of it that outside from actually getting your hands in there, dirty, wrenching, doing nuts and bolt stuff, and everything else. That's like that's the fun part. That's the cool and fun part, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and let alone you got to do that stuff really well to where it doesn't come back because you already have enough expenses on the back. And then you don't want expenses on the front end.
Yeah. Business shit, man. I think people want to dive in and go, "Oh, I could do that. I could do it. It looks easy." And it's not. There's a grind to it, man. So that's why I put context to it, man, in terms of your journey along this thing is 16 years stability, working for a dealership. If you're working for Harley, you know a check's coming. You know a check's coming every week, 2 weeks, whatever it is.
No matter how bad you mess up.
No matter what you do, you don't get and how many mess ups you have until you get but absolutely, man, that's a different plunge, especially with a family. And you do this 6 years ago, you already have I'm doing the math. You already got all your kids. They're all born. They're all here.
The kids are
and
younger. Yeah, that's what I was
one's 8, 6 years ago. That's 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a 3 and a 4-year-old just came from that era.
That was like 2, 5, and 6 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight to carry right there, man.
That's still diapers and.
So I guess supportive wife. I mean, I got one of them too. None of this. You keep it real like I keep it real, dog. None of this happens around here, and what this has been built up to, what Joe and I have done, without me having the support of my wife. She may not be doing shit right here, but she's holding it down with the kids and doing all that shit so that I can go and do all the work that it takes right here. You know, so support system, but you have to also feel in that moment that I've got enough connections and enough people and enough circle and enough work that I can just pull in and start doing this on my own. You got to, because if you don't have that comfort on that one a little bit, that's a big plunge.
Oh yeah, it got to the point where I was calling in sick to work to be able to do side work at home.
I think that's a good. I think that's a good measurement to go. I think I need to bounce. Yeah. So where's the shop start then? Did you start in the garage? I know you were obviously doing work in the garage.
Yeah, I was doing work in the garage, and I'd actually even tried to team up with someone who had a shop space and did that for a couple months after hours instead of in the garage, and um, just realized that I could do it on my own, not and mainly because I was doing it on my own. So then it was like then the journey started of like, okay, well, now we got to file the appropriate paperwork to have a business name, and then just trying to find a shop space, not wanting to rent to someone that was going to be doing motorcycle stuff. So that was a huge heartburn of a journey because, like, all these people be like, oh, cool. Then you tell them what you're going to do with it. And they're like, no, never mind, never mind, never mind.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
No, and Joe and I were talking about, one of our garage business meetings. We were just talking about what you guys were talking offline about finding a little, some retail spot.
Mhm,
But Joe, yes, I've done it. I've done a little bit of shopping in the past with other ventures, and with it depend. Every place is zoned different. Like,
mhm.
in this storefront, you can only do retail, and you can only do this type of stuff. So you can only have that type of business in those places. And like anything motorcycle and automotive related, welding, I believe, too, is a big one on there. It's got to be like super industrial, or
Mhm.
it's got to be zone permitted, regulated for that type of
Yeah.
work and
And like you
shit
said,
to
cover
happen.
the oils and the
Well, yeah, and then a lot of building owners just associate motorcycles with riffraff.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I can get that
th-
too. Yeah,
they also want to, just be mindful of like what you're bringing to their property.
yeah. No,
So,
they're gonna bring us.
I guess I could see that, but I hate that stereotype
but yeah.
that it exists. I get
Mhm.
it. I mean, look at us. We're all rough around the edges. I get it. You look at us and you think like, oh, but
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we'll still go dive in the street and save your daughter from driving out. You know what I
got
mean? Type of
help
thing.
you out in
You
the
know?
moment I can.
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, I finally got someone to say yes, and now my unit looks like inside my unit's the nicest one out of the 12 in the building because I put so much work into it, and I've kept it so much cleaner than all the other tenants to where, you know,
What's around you? Is it other
um,
automotive stuff,
no, I wouldn't. Well,
industrial
yeah,
stuff?
yeah,
I
no,
guess.
I'm in a huge industrial area, so there's a bunch of people, making noise besides me, but in my complex, there's like a sign shop, a dude who does metal fabrication.
Okay.
Oddly enough, there's another little motorcycle shop and upholster, but out of all those people, you walk into my unit and it's like a Taj Mahal compared to the other
Nice.
ones, just 'cause I put in so much work to make it nice, and then I try to just keep it nice.
Oh, there is.
I think that's a big for me. If I'm walking in a motorcycle shop and someone's working on my bike and I see it clean and or your tools are organized and it's not a shit show, I'm I'm going to that guy. You
Uh,
know what I mean? I'm
uh,
not. Your shock isn't going to end up in the bike that's 2 lifts away because there's shit everywhere. Type of thing.
I constantly get complimented that you could eat off my floors because it's that
That's
clean.
big.
That's a good. I mean, yeah. When you think shop, motorcycle shop, yeah, I guess you would connect like oil, grease, this, that, and the other, right? But you also got to remember that for someone like yourself, because I kind of interpret my garage this way, not to maybe definitely not to the standards of what yours is, but I understand the connection of also this is your kind of office. This is your space. This is where all of my shit goes down. Like, and organization and cleanliness, it helps in the process of taking apart and putting back together a motorcycle.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And if you got shit all over the place, man, it can quick. Like there are times, I'm sure you can. There are times where I'm working on stuff and I'm like, I gotta stop because I started to create a little bit of chaos within
Yeah.
myself,
Yep.
and you gotta kind of like get situated again to go. Okay, before I go to the next step,
hmm
so keeping a shop like that is important for that reason for
Yeah.
customers, but on the flip end of it for you,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just the simplicity, the organization of your work method.
Oh, it helps out, and my shop's not always perfect, but it
Well, there's
like
chaos that happens, mess
yeah.
happens, it's a shop.
I just want the person with, because nowadays these bikes are, like 20, 40, 60, $100,000. Like,
Insane.
I just want that client to feel comfortable about where they're leaving their bike,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
It sets the bar though too, like what Joe's kind of talking about, man. For somebody that doesn't know your shop, you're
Mhm.
gonna have your customers that come back and repeat with you because they know your work, they know your quality, you got them. But for the people that are walking in the first time,
Yeah.
don't know anything about you, you know, appearances and everything. but it is a good starting point to just start filling in the dots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially when you walk in, clean floors, big snap-on toolbox. It's like, all right, like, invite someone to spend some money in there.
Yeah. Well, that's also like 20 years plus more of investing into your tools and all your stuff. It's
Hmm.
the people will see the success and they'll see like, damn, look at that, look what he's got, but they don't know the 20-year thing that's gone behind it to get
Yeah.
to right there. I wanted this is year what are we in? We're tipping off on year 3 or 3,
Yeah.
wherever we're at. I can't remember at this point. I want it to be like boom,
Mm.
but that it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a long ass journey, boy. So what would people so your shop, I know every shop will do everything. Is there something that you kind of like to say that you specialize in or that you consider yourself?
Yes.
What would that be?
The rider experience.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. That's a good okay.
So
You're looking to help customers with that portion.
yeah, yeah. Well, like I want to tailor the bike to the rider and create the ultimate riding experience, whether that be like comfort and like handlebars, seats, suspension, handling, like suspension, chassis alignments. I want to help create longevity. I'm really known for like motor work too, so it's like uh, I have a very wide skill set, but my main goal is to increase the rider experience to just create a better time while that rider is on that motorcycle.
Okay. And is that something that has curated over the past 20 years? Is that where it's led you? Where did that kind of, because I think for me hearing it, every shop is different, right? And that's why I asked. Some shops are really focused on just a specific style of bike and maybe just performance or big wheel or stereo, whatever it may be. Where did that kind of vision for what you want to do for a customer kind of start?
I think it just started from me just riding motorcycles and just over the past 20 years, I've had the privilege of riding so many different motorcycles and being like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable, that's a little uncomfortable. And then plus my own motorcycles, like I probably have over 200,000 miles of ride time, on the
Okay.
streets or the highways. So it's like just, the just being in tune with the bike and knowing like what the bike can actually give back to you,
I feel
and
you.
being able to like count 500-mile days and wake up and do it again. You need it all. You actually need comfort, you need power, so you're not fighting the bike or white knuckling it, you're just passing vehicles with ease. Like you want that suspension so it's just comfortable on your back. You want great foot placement, so your hips aren't getting locked up. You want good circulation. I love heated hand grips. Like, like I want it all.
I feel you, man. I feel you. I hearing the way that you talk about it and just kind of, I'm going to use the word ramble because that's not the appropriate
Yeah,
word. Yeah, but I mean,
I do get off on a ramble.
no, no, no. But I mean, like you're just going off on all the things. You're like this and that, the ergonomics, and the connection that I make with all that is that's all the maybe the bikes you've ridden to test ride after they need to get out, feeling how they're set up. That's all the miles that you put on. That's 20 years of experience. That's like, hey, have you thought about all these things? Have you thought about, what type of, so it sounds like you kind of have to ask customers questions. What are you looking to do? What are you trying to ride? How far are you trying to go?
Oh yeah,
Is it,
yeah.
you know?
I want to interview them and tailor the bike to them like a fine suit,
Hmm.
and even like personal riding, lighting's super important because I've done gnarly canyon mountain rides, like from Palm Springs back to Temecula in the middle of the night. So having good lighting where you see wildlife and animals like half mile down the road, so
Hmm.
you're not running into them, or riding from Lake Elsinore to Phoenix in the middle of the night. Like, just, I don't know. I've had the experience of doing all these, not normal ride
Yeah.
scenarios, but all that just blends into like what I can then offer the customer, just through my own personal experiences. And I try to actually give the customer what they need more than what they want. Because I want better return on investment for whatever they're investing into.
Yeah, and often newer riders definitely don't know what they want or
What they
what they need. I'm sorry.
yeah,
They think they know what they want because they see it over here on their buddy's bike, and it's just not the same for everybody.
No.
It's not the same. Joe likes rubber pegs. Joe likes old school ass rubber pegs on his
Yeah.
bike. That's his preference, right?
they
For his
isolate the
reason.
vibration better.
Yeah.
I do.
Others are going to go, yeah, but it doesn't look cool. So they're going to want the flow, so
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know what you want, but it's always good. Whether you're talking to Casey or you're talking to myself, you're talking to somebody who has some experience, listen and then soak it in a little bit and go and try before you just go. And anytime someone buys a bike, they always are asking like, well, what do I do first? What do I do this? And yeah, we're all going to have our opinion, but if you just ask like the basic guys, are going to go bars and suspension, or do those things, get yourself comfortable, and then you can go and adjust everything else kind of from there.
Yeah.
If you're going to ask what to do first, get yourself positioned comfortably and riding comfortably, and then go from there.
And even at that, I mean, when they tell you, get bars and seat and stuff to get comfortable, don't just go buy something because, like you said, somebody has it, or these five people have this seat. That seat might not work for your ass. You know what I mean? You might need a seat from somewhere else or a different style or something. The T-bars came out. And it was like right before the 9-inch bars with the drag bars, and then T-bars came out. It was like, dude, everyone's 14, 16-inch T-bars, dude, you have no control over your bike like that. You know what I mean? None, bro. You're sitting up, you still have 8 on there.
Cars, yeah.
Like you said, like preference wise, I like rubber pegs. I've had flows, I've had different pegs. I prefer my rubber pegs. And anybody that takes them off, I'm like, give me those things. And I'll take them and I'll keep them. My bars, it's 9.5-inch riser with a pullback and a mid bend. And that works for me. I'm like at 12 3/4. I don't want the 14. I don't want the 12. That fits me.
But you got to talk to somebody though. You got to, like for newer riders, that's the advice that I try and give them. Like, listen, like talk to 10 people and then sit on as much different stuff as you can sit on before you just go and say, yeah, but that you saw it on Instagram and it looks cool and everybody's doing that one. Well, fuck, doesn't mean it's the right one. And like everything that you broke down, that's 20 years of test riding a bunch of shit, writing your own type of stuff, building stuff for everybody over the time and feeling this setup and this cam versus that cam, this cam with that combination. You've done and felt them all. And you have to do rider advice. Just talk to people. You never have to take their input. It's ultimately in the end your decision to go, fuck it, I want what's cool. But just grab all the information that you can because, dog, you said it. It ain't cheap.
No.
You're making big time money decisions, and so many times I've seen people buy something and then I see a different part on their bike because it wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
I've seen people do cams all the time. They buy these huge ass cams for a stock motor because they have an air cleaner and exhaust. And they put these dude, you need put some high compression pistons in that thing and some work, and then. But if you're gonna ask your mechanic. Hey, at stock head, this is what I plan to run. What size cams do you think I should run?
Yeah.
You don't need a 585 cam because your buddy has it. It's a 114. You know what I mean, or whatever.
Do you do a lot of engine work over there?
Yeah, I've been known to. I'd say like I used to do a ton of engine work before I got my dyno, and now I do more tuning than I do engine work.
So you have a dyno?
Yes.
Okay. Man has a dyno. Very rare to have people that have dynos that actually know how to tune a bike. So, hey, I'm being honest, man. I mean, to hit up Cafe Customs, it's very rare that people have dynos that tune bikes.
You can put you can put the cam, you can put the throttle body, you can put all that shit on there that you want. But until you actually can see what that shit is doing and adjust it to do its best, it ain't shit.
Oh yeah.
Like everything is in your tune. And people, what's funny to me about tunes? Yes, all right. We're gonna go down the hole here, boy.
Yeah.
You know what's funny to me about tunes? What I find funny is people will spend the pistons and the cams and the headwork and the port and the polish and the throttle body, and they'll spend all that money. And then they're like, fucking $500, $600 to tune this thing. Dog, you just dropped all this money on all this other shit, and you're
Oh,
bitching about the last
hey,
$500-$600 that is the absolute most
Yeah,
important
that's
part
gonna
of it
that's gonna
all.
ruin your motor. Or
but, or
they'll go buy a $500 Dynajet or whatever and do like a base map tuning it, thinking it's gonna work. Like,
No,
so would you?
he's I struck a chord with him on
No,
that
I
one,
know,
dog.
and I agree with you. So would you recommend, like, I know people get the wide bands and stuff like that, which are pretty good, but I mean, I have a buddy Luis, and he's always tells me like, dude, go get it dialed and tuned. Like,
uh-huh.
fuck the wide band, fuck the tuner. Like, go get a tuner, somebody to tune your bike and just have it done right, like right there.
And when you say wide bands, are you referring to like a Thunder Max or a
Correct.
Target tune?
Correct.
Okay, so um, yes, you want the bike tuned, and then those wide bands only benefit your ride
As you
after it's
drive.
tuned correctly for when you are going into different
Correct.
elevations and things like that. And getting the bike tuned correctly, and this is the difficult part too, because like the I had no idea how many people actually have a dyno till I got one and started having to retune bikes that have been tuned elsewhere. But
So,
getting the
like I said, there's a bunch of people with dynos that don't know how to tune bikes.
but like getting the bike tuned correctly, whether it's just a pipe and air cleaner or stage infinity,
Hmm.
is actually the most important element to it all.
Yeah.
Because I used to be very against like certain combos, but then only come to realize it's the tune, not the combo. You know, there are some combos that just don't work, but getting the bike dialed and tuned, especially on the lower RPMs, is just so important to the whole riding experience, you
Mhm.
know? Like, oh man, a good
Do you
tune,
do
like
carb? Do you do tune carb bikes?
I have done them, and every time I'm surprised at how much better they can get.
Oh
Like,
shit! Yeah,
like,
we might have to take a
Yeah,
little drive to Temecula.
we're gonna we'll trailer it out there.
Yeah,
We'll fucking take 3-4 tanks of gas probably
yeah. I
$4
think
to
we
get
might
out
have
there.
to come out there, man, sometime and see what we could. Because my bike runs great, but it runs very fat, dude. It is
oh, what
so
kind of
fat.
carb?
Makuni 42.
Okay, yeah, no, those can get dialed in pretty good.
Yeah, and the bike runs great.
Mm.
It's a monster, but it runs so fat. I mean, these guys
Oh,
freaking hate
Yeah,
me, dude.
dude,
It's just
you can hear it.
until I
It's
open it
running,
up.
dude. You can
Until I
hear
open it up.
it guggle. Sure,
Yeah.
you hear it, man. Yeah, and he's like he's 65 to 70 miles. He's like, I gotta pull over. I'm like, Jesus, Joe, it's
Sportster mileage.
it's terrible, terrible.
Horrible, dude.
Yeah, a good tune with good throttle response just gives you all the confidence on the road to just like pass a big rig or
Yeah.
just make a tight pass on a 2-lane road or just even enjoy the bike and even down to like the parking lot scenario or the wide open you're racing your friend or you know I don't know like the tune is the magic
Yeah.
you know
Hmm.
it's really the cherry on top of anything that's done to the bike
Yeah,
you know.
I know people don't always like. I don't know it on your level. I understand everything in terms of how an engine works, a combustible engine works, and I know that everybody doesn't quite understand that. But I'll put it down in simple terms for you because it is so scientific. It is a mixture of air and gas and spark all at the same exact time with all kinds of that gas trying to leave and new stuff trying to come in. So there are like all these timing mechanisms that go along with it. And that's why it's so important that you do a tune because when you tune it, you're able to look and adjust all of that, the amount of gas and the
Yeah.
this and when it fires and all and at certain RPMs. It's all these things are computer based now when you have fuel injection. So it's
Mm.
extremely important. I've always known that it's like it is. I'll be Yes, I always get like, dude, $600 to tune this thing? Oh, because you've already dropped 5 grand or whatever the frick it is on everything else. So I get the feeling, but I'm with you, dog. It is the most important
Yeah.
thing that you will do in all the money that you spent to build the monster
Yeah.
to get every bit of it out of it.
Yeah.
Well, and if you get it to the right tuner it's way less heartburn because you only got to pay it once. Because I've had quite a few clients like they're on their third or fourth tune session before it gets to me. So
Mm.
sometimes they're a couple grand into tuning their bike and still dissatisfied.
And I mean, I've even seen people go in. I'm like, hey, go get your bike. To like one of my buddies actually, and he takes it in, and he came back out, and I'm like, he's like, they told me to bring it back because they just put a bass tune in it. I'm like, a bass tune? I'm like, dude, tell them to tune your fucking bike. Like, you didn't ask for a bass tune. I go, all they did was get you back for another 500 now, bro. That's all they did. Like, that's all they did was bring you back for another 500. There was no reason to put a bass tune in your bike. Tune the bike the way it's supposed to be tuned, period.
Well, and even to your point of all the different things going on at once, that's per cylinder. So getting the map written for each cylinder correctly, and if you're to think of this huge or big sheet of graph paper, you have like throttle percentage, then RPM, and then you have all these tiny squares, and you got to get each one of those squares dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a process, and I actually take even longer on my tunes because I tune on the dyno and then I go tune out on the street. I blend it all together, so it's like extra refined. Like
I feel you.
and it's borderline dangerous sometimes too, because you just crack the throttle and the front wheel hops off the ground like a 450 dirt bike.
That's the type of hey, if you're asking me, that's the type of tune you probably kind of want. You want to know that the power's there. You want to know that you can like it's responsive because everything's throttled by wire now. So you have to set there's so much that's going on with a tune that there's a reason that it costs what it costs because there's one, the equipment itself just to do it isn't cheap, but two, there's a lot of science and there's a lot of understanding that goes along with it. Let me ask you then, what would be for people, because everyone's not going to be able to either get to you or however that works, but what would be some questions that you would like suggest for people to kind of like, hey, maybe ask these towards somebody that you're interested in getting a tune from to see if they kind of have the direction or they have the know-how of to do this right for you?
One of the first questions I would ask is, does the dyno machine have a eddy brake, which is the electronic brake where you can control like the RPM, and then ask them, if they're only doing wide open throttle tuning, because that's what I tend to see a lot on some of the retunes where, like it might be good wide open, but like through the rest of the throttle positions in range, it's not really that great. You know what I mean? And then just ask them how much time they spend tuning the bike below 4,000 RPM, below 3,000 RPM, below 2,000 RPM. Because at least for me, like I'll spend a lot of time, at 1,500 RPM wide open throttle and above, sometimes even down to 1,250, 1,100, but trying to hit every one of those cells that's available. That way, it just makes for the most phenomenal throttle response. Because I actually used to not like throttle by wire bikes, and it was mostly because of the delay in the throttle response and things of that nature. But since I've gotten the opportunity to tune bikes, I'm like, oh, this is the business.
You just have to know how to manipulate it. That's what you have to know how to do.
It's just the time. It just takes a lot of time to get it that good. But not only can you get it that good, you can still have fuel economy. You can have an amazing torque curve. You can have never ending power. Like a lot of my clients are like, dude, this thing doesn't stop pulling, like.
So if I hear you and I heard your process correctly, you'll go in there when you said wide open throttle at 1,500. You're reprogramming it so that you can have it fully pinned and see what it's doing in that range. So that you do that so you can tune it correctly at that RPM range. But the concept is so that even when they're rolling past it at 1,500, then 2,000, then 2,500, as they're rolling through it, you've gone through all of them. You didn't just do the top end full on because
so that's kind of get rid of that blah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So it's just right. It's just it's fucking. I feel you. Like our sound effects, dude. We're fucking. When these sound effects are gonna come out on this podcast, dog. We interject all our motorcycle sounds around here. So okay, so that's interesting. See, like this is the geek in me, the mechanic, the gearhead geekhead in me, where I'm like just connecting the dots of what you're talking about at full open 1500. Are you doing it at 2000? Because to
Yeah.
be honest with you, those aren't things that I've had my bike tuned. Monty's my guy down here, and I trust Monty. And Monty, I go here, Monty, do your thing, and then you take it to your tuner that he does his thing. And I've never thought about those type of questions. And I've never been disappointed in the tunes
Mhm.
that I've had in my bike. But those are I've never thought of things like that during a tune.
Oh yeah, I mean there'll be like 1125, 1250, 1500, 1750, 2000, 2250, 2500, 2750, 3000, like all those like, and that's like where you ride the bike the most,
Mm-hmm.
and because you're not like wide open throttle above 5000 RPM
No,
too
Often.
a
often.
normal cruise would be, I would say, 23 to 3 grand.
Yeah.
Is your normal cruising, and that's even on the freeway. I think
Well,
most of the time.
and then some Harley models, like some of the twin cams that you have to tune off the map sensor, it's every 125 RPM increments. So there's even more cells. Like,
Wow.
but just just it's a slower process, but the results are so much more phenomenal.
Yeah, I would imagine, man, because you're finding the power range through the whole throttle. You're not just finding it in
Yeah.
the. I want to give him like because you can go and do a dyno test probably and tune it to just you want the biggest numbers out of this thing. You want the most. You want to show all that money you spent, put down this much torque and this much power. Okay, I could do that, and then just tune that son of a bitch. Here's your sheet. Look how much power you're making. But it's only in that position or in that realm of that when you're riding that bike to that extreme. And if you're not riding the bike to that extreme, which we all aren't, 90 some of us more than others, 95, 90% of the time,
Yeah.
you're not really getting your full bang for your buck. And then that's when it leads to, and I'm sure you've seen this. That's when it leads to disappointment of what you expected from all these parts
Yeah.
and all this money that you spent on the crank and the flywheel and the throttle body and the port and polish and the because you're like, I'm gonna get all this stinking power. And you got all the parts to do that power, but it's just not translating.
Then it leads to resentment. Then it leads to a for sale sign.
That's probably the way that it goes. Yeah, that's probably the way that it
So
goes.
everyone with a brand new stainless pipe that's gold, go get it tuned. Casey, that means your bike is not tuned.
Yeah, those are some signs that your bike is not probably, those are some indications that your bike isn't tuned to its best. But I mean, full circle, man, we could probably geek out on tunes for forever. It's just a reminder that it is probably just the most important part of your engine build, and no matter what capacity that is, when you did a cam and an air filter and a this, the tune is really going to define and really be like where you're going to get your power from all those hard parts that you went and you bought.
Well, and even if you just have a pipe and an air cleaner, or just like you enjoy the stock exhaust system, getting your bike tuned and tuned well, you can create better fuel economy, better throttle response, cooler engine operating temperatures. Like there are a ton of benefits besides like the byproduct of
Yep.
torque and horsepower.
You're absolutely you hit the nail on the head. That's a good actual point because just even a stock bike, you can suck more. You can take a bike from the showroom floor right here and not do anything to it and go roll it on a dyno and start to look at all that information that it's putting out. Get a tuner for it. Don't change anything. Don't change the cam. Don't change the exhaust. Don't change anything, and you'll be able to maybe pull a little more horsepower, but you'll be able to use that horsepower in a totally different way that it came off of the floor. And you'll feel like you got a shit ton more of horsepower for that simple fact.
Oh yeah. Then a lot of times I even give up like anywhere from 3 to 5 peak horsepower to have a smoother torque curve and stronger throttle response.
Yeah.
Because usually the stronger the torque is, the there might be a little less horsepower, but that's only because you're getting the red line faster.
Yeah.
The bikes that have the dip can sometimes pull a little more horsepower, but that's because it has more time to build up.
I
on the
feel you.
That
dynos.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That makes a lot of
Dynos
sense.
are extremely, extremely important. I know it. I know not the part that we all feel like we want to pay for, but it is the absolute most important part of building any
It's the
type
part
of
that
motor.
no one wants to pay for because nobody sees it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's more of a feeling thing, you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and you can't just like point at it, and be like, oh, look how cool that is,
That's
you
what
know.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but I've had customers where I tune one bike, then they're like, bring me another bike to tune, or some of my retunes, you know, that like I can use this one guy for example, but I don't want to put him on blast, but because bought his bike from somewhere that pretty well known, tuned it, and they're like, don't mess with the tune. And I'd already tuned his other bike, and he's like, dude, this thing's like, you know, this is not good. So put on, but I'm like, dude, that's a very reputable spot. It's got to be good. Put it on the dyno, and it had this huge mega dip in it, you know, and I'm like, oh, that is bad, you know. So I retune it and picked up like 30 foot-pounds of torque at 2,700 RPM,
Wow.
which is, and then
That's good. That's a lot.
still ended up with 10 more peak horsepower, but you know, like that's where you're riding it. And it went from this dippy kind of torque curve to this just beautiful arch. And just, it's like, talk about getting way more return on your investment of your riding experience,
Yep.
you know?
Man, see, we had a set, we had a note with him on the
Yeah.
on the tunes, man.
And on that, I mean, you obviously do dyno. Don't you have your foot in the door with racing and stuff like that
I
a little bit?
I'd say kind of. I do have one guy, Lenny, who
Yeah,
likes to hit the track.
that's what I'm
Um,
talking about, Lenny.
yeah, no, he's a savage, man. That dude can ride. Like,
You know who he is, right? It's
I
the
never
Indian
don't
dude
know him
that,
personally,
yeah,
mhm,
but I've seen the social
he's a
media.
good
Yeah.
dude.
yeah.
And yeah, I thought he was running your stuff on his
Oh
bike.
yeah. He's got one of my tunes, and man,
What's he running?
he's got a soft tail flat bob that he inherited from his friend that passed away, Ian.
Okay,
So, um, but yeah.
some sentimental
Oh,
value to that.
huge sentimental value
No,
on that one.
okay,
So,
race bike. They turned it into a race
yeah,
bike then.
full
Okay.
blown race bike. Ian was taking it out to the track all the time, and then Lenny and Ian were best friends, and yeah, his family ended up giving it to him after.
Wow, man.
Yeah, so that bike's extra special, and that bike can cook. He actually took I think second place at Willow Springs the year before this last one, and off the line, there's this great video just shows him pulling a whole shot like first through fourth gear, and it's only 114 with the cam, but it's got my tune, and it just cooked everyone off the line. Just it's just epic.
There's your testament to how important a tune is right
Well,
there, huh?
yeah.
Where do you want the power? What do you want it to do?
Or even I can't even tell you the amount of customers that have called me from across the country, whether they're in like Alabama, Maine, just wherever. Like, dude, I cannot believe how good my bike runs after you tuned it across the country. Like,
That's
you
good.
know, they're
Yeah.
just stoked. Like,
Well, it seems like it's something that you enjoy doing and you like take a lot of pride in it as well. And
well,
that's really big when you put your name and your pride behind something. You know, it really comes
thank
out.
you.
It comes out like even tenfold over. You know what I mean?
I try to tune the bikes how I would want it just as a rider,
Yeah.
you know, and like that's where it really stems from is like, you know, prior to me getting a dyno, you know, I'd be doing these $10,000 motor builds for people, crank up, like ported head, like just like you're talking about
Yeah.
all these components. We'd send it to the tuner, and it's not like they did a horrible job. It's just like we were just expecting a little more snap, like a little more scare me out of it, you know. And it was like, you know, it's just mild sauce instead of hot sauce. So it was,
I feel you.
you know, so it's just one of those scenarios where, you know, like my wife and I were on a morning walk one morning, and I'm just like, hey, honey, I have this wild idea. I want to expand the shop, and I want to buy a dyno. And I'd never operated a dyno before, like, but like, I just, you know, like, I just went for it, you know, by faith and not by sight, and just, and that was, you want to talk about a little bit of to the back end business scary part. Um, got this extra shop space, signed up for the dyno. I'm making I was supposed to get the dyno within 3 months. Didn't get it for like 9 months. So like, and
Paying shop space on
I'm
that?
paying shop space and I'm paying the dyno payment, and I still don't have it. And then when I get it, I don't know what to do with it. You know, like so.
That's a plunge. Boy. That's a
Yeah.
going off the deep end, boy. Yeah.
But you know,
paying overhead and everything, and
yeah,
not bringing no money to you yet.
you know, just kind of, and still just trying to keep the family flourishing, you know, like, but man, luckily, luckily, you know, so I went for it, and you know, and I'll never forget too. Like now, the dyno area looks really good, you know. But before, man, I just would have like the circuit board on a chair and just like, you know, like I only had this one fan. I'd use a leaf blower to try to cool the motors down in between runs, and then
Yeah.
got like 3 fans. But now it looks Gucci, but that whole like process, you know, like was it wasn't for the weak. That's for sure.
Oh well, you got to start somewhere, man. You know, this wasn't this what it was. It was a phone on a
Yeah.
trash can. Literally, it's what it was. It was a
Yeah.
phone on a 55-gallon trash can. That's where this started, and it's got to start somewhere, man. I know, and we all have our our vision, and you get there, but yeah, I think it takes money to make money. Right? That's what I was hearing when you were talking about that. I'm like, yeah, it takes money to make money, and it takes a plunge. See, I'm glad to know too, man, that our crazy business decisions and ideas are equal to like what you're like. I was just going on a walk and I had this crazy idea. So like, I'm gonna buy a 50. I want a 50. I want to go in debt like $50,000 more. You know, like I got this crazy idea. Let's do it. You
Yeah.
know, 'cause that's how ours stem, and it stems with my wife the same exact way, man. Like last night we were talking about finding a different spot, and I'm like, she's like, so what ideas do you have? And I'm like, these crazy ones, and I started rambling them off and stuff. But at the end of my crazy idea that I feel, I'm like, that's crazy talk. At the end of it, I could see in her face, and she looked at me. She goes, "Yeah, you you got something there." And I don't know, those crazy ideas don't always sound so crazy. Sometimes you just got to take the plunge, man.
Yeah.
It takes money to make money, man, and you gotta, and it takes. You said a good word to describe it. It takes faith, boy. It takes some faith to
Yeah.
go.
It's not for the weak.
I'm doing this, man. And if you fail, you fail. I think it's for men, it's a shot to the ego. I think every man will be like, "Fuck, man." If you fail, you fail. But on the other end of that, if you fail, but you failed like you went down with the ship, you put in the effort versus just like I could have done better. I'll tell you where I feel like I could
At
have done.
least you knew that you tried it. If you
That's
don't
it,
try
man.
it, then you never know.
That's it. But the feel like you could have done better feeling will always fucking kind of be there. But as long as you know that you gave it everything, eh, sometimes we fail, man. But you got to take the plunge, man. You got to take
Yeah.
the risk.
Yeah.
It is huge, man.
Yeah.
So I got a buddy that's you might know him, Ernie. He's kind of been hitting me up a little bit about the business end of stuff. He's seen our stuff, and he goes, man, I'm finally doing it this year, man. Or I had this business idea for 2-3 years, and I was like, I'm finally doing it this year. And so he started just asking a couple of questions, and I'm like, you got it, man. He's like, I'm taking the plunge. It's what you got to do,
Yeah.
man. Jump off the cliff, boy.
Cannonball.
That's it, dude. That's kind of it, man.
It definitely ain't a swan dive, I'll tell you that much.
Well, it's going to be a shit ton of work, right? I mean, you got to have.
More like falling down the cliff instead of diving off of it, So you're just tumbling, man, just rolling with the rocks and the punches, man.
Well, what are you riding right now, man? I didn't even ask. What are you sitting on?
So my main bike is actually down right now.
See, if
'Cause
we say main bike, that means we got a couple. We got a few of them here then.
yeah, I have a small little fleet.
Clean.
Bike is a '05 Dyna Super Glide. Yeah, no, that
Stock paint.
yeah, stock black pearl paint, and then I like to play off the stock paint, so it's got a three red pinstripes. So I got like candy red rocker box covers and push rod
Okay.
tubes, and my calipers are red, and I powder coated my swing arm and my trees and some other parts to match the paint, and it's
Is it on your page?
yeah.
Let me try. Go ahead. You can keep
Uh,
on talking. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Yeah, you got to scroll kind of far down.
Right.
And then I also have like a O2 Sportster that's just been hibernating for a couple years. Got a 2008 Buell Lightning. Also have like a 2002 Buell Blast. My latest passion project is
That thing's
my
clean
Honda
right there.
Groms. I'm really into those.
The
Got
Groms,
yeah, dude, I've gotten into those over the last
they're
year.
fun.
Um, and then That's it right there. Go up one.
This one?
Yeah, so that's the bike. There's quite a few posts about it. But
It's clean.
then also got a YZ 250F dirt bike. Then my kids have a ton of dirt bikes. We have like 3 110s, a couple 65s.
Oh, you got an arsenal, man. You don't have a small fleet. You got an arsenal right there, man.
Then there's the mountain bikes, and then they have their like e-bikes, like the Certerons that they tear up the streets on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a
This is clean though. Gold tubes in the front end, dual conversion. Oh no, that comes with the dual disc.
well, no, so it actually was single disc,
Okay.
and I converted it to dual disc. Um, the the only thing that's like left stock on it would be the frame and then the engine cases and transmission case. Every other part's been like blown up or you know switched out.
Kind of bike drag?
Uh-huh. I don't have gold tubes on it anymore. I went back to
Is
silver.
this the one we were at? Because
It's
this is the
one.
only one that they had on the. Because the second year he did it just over here, right?
Yeah.
That was a practice day. I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
actually at the main event day,
Oh, I see.
but it's pretty quick. It's got the 103 stroker crank in it with some heads and throttle body, and it's not too bad. It's pushing 120 torque, 117 horse.
Yeah.
So can I talk about some?
Yeah.
What is this right here?
Uh,
Oh,
just a dyno. Yeah, you can talk about anything on the page. Through the dyno tuning, I got into engine alignments, uh, which has been game changer for handling on rubber mounted chassis. Starting to like get some feedback like, hey, after you tune my bike, it wobbles above 110. I'm like, well, before I tuned your bike, it couldn't go above 110. So
Yeah.
tune. So uh, uh, I had some handling issues on my bike where I tried different suspension combos, different motor mount combos, like threw a lot of money at the bike, but never cured the handling.
I
So
was always mopping, Joe. Clean floor.
until I took it to a shop and like a laser alignment done, and then I was like, dude, that's game changer. So I linked up with Al from Rack and Pull, bought his alignment stuff, and been doing a ton of alignments since
Okay.
because that is you want to talk about making these bikes handle well.
I heard that's a big game changer. I've thought about doing that. I've thought about doing that on my dyno as well.
Dude, it is absolute game changer.
Picture of like something like with jig on a bike. Do you have something like that?
Oh, the alignment thing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you keep scrolling down, I
Okay.
think there should be one on the main page. Or,
Right there up. Is that right there to your left? No, that's a
No.
tune. That's dyno.
oh, but that's my bike on the dyno. If you go to that one,
This one?
one up,
This one?
yeah, that kind of like should. Oh wait, no, that's my memes. Oops.
You're black, and black. I know two and black.
Fun with
Hard.
no, the alignment, absolute game changer, especially on like all these '09 and later packers.
Here's a picture.
Oh yeah, yeah, that kind of
This is a little video of it.
yeah.
So yeah, because these things all they do stuff. Believe it or not, they, you know.
Well, so the bikes, they come with a fixed link, so there's a lot of times where, like they're just misaligned and there's nothing you could do about it. And I've seen it as anywhere from like a 32nd of an inch to 5/8 of an inch misaligned.
Oh,
And especially on the baggers, once you get the alignment dialed in correctly, it'll make the bagger feel like 100 pounds lighter.
oh,
Yeah, because I think like
Oh, so that's my motor right there with the red rockers.
oh this one. Let me make sure it's still.
That might be a little video of the bike. But it's been through so many different renditions.
It's a 05?
Yeah,
Another pros.
my crank it was 60 thousandths, blew out my crank bearing. That was when it was just 95,
What is it now?
103.
Okay. Yeah, I think people get right up there. A lot of people don't understand how the Harley is all aligned. And fucking Harleys aren't meant to really like rail like some of us are really trying to rail them. They're not designed to do that
No.
out of the floor. So when you start bolting all these things on, horsepower will kind of move things. When you snap on that engine, you got the transmission and the swing arm all the motor is connected to the transmission's kind of connected to the swing arm and all this. So like if that shit's off, then there's suspension alignments that can happen. There's wobble that'll happen, and I guarantee you, every Harley rolling off the floor is not perfectly aligned. I promise you that brand new one.
Oh yeah.
It's not true.
So especially when it comes to the vertical alignment part where that adjustable top link is, and I should have brought one up just to show for a visual. Um, that vertical alignment, whichever way it's off in alignment, the rear wheel is angled that way. So there's a lot of times where it's easy for someone to make a left turn versus a right turn, or when you let go of the bars and it naturally wants to wander one way or the other. A lot of times it's just because the rear wheel is actually angled one way or the other.
Well, if you just ride down the road in the back end and you're just doing this the whole time.
That's Joe. He's got that nasty dyno wobble, boy. I feel it on the back of mine right now a little bit too. But yeah, but Joe's. It's funny for us. We're like, whatever.
So a lot of times too, the swing arm bushing and bearing go back on the.
That's gonna be my next one.
Okay.
That my neck bearings.
Yep.
Yeah. Harleys are different than any other class of bikes kind of out there. You get a sport bike and a street bike. It's got everything's different about it. It's more probably in line and tune with itself. But a Harley has so many things that need to be in line with each other to actually be true.
Yeah, well, look at the modern Softail or Evo Sportster. Both of those are rigid mounted motors to the frame, and they usually have less of the problems.
Yeah.
It's those rubber mounted motors that.
So we were just looking at the new Sportster S or whatever. That's frame mounted motor, isn't it? It's like the frame's like it has a subframe and a front frame almost, and the motor's like connected.
The motor looks like it's just suspended from the top of the frame because there's no like neck that comes down in front of it, and you don't see anything on the bottom of the engine.
We were trying to figure it out.
Kind of a trip.
You can't obviously see under the tank and all the plastic up top, but I mean, the bottom it looks like a KTM or something style.
I haven't had one of those come into the shop, so I got it.
It's pretty trippy looking.
The Nightster's the same way, I think. Weren't we
No, Nightster has a frame.
It does have one around it. Either the engine was the same, I think, or something like that. Out of the two,
it might not. Yeah, it's trippy.
So, how long does the process kind of take like that for a frame to be, or for an alignment of stuff? Is that a full breakdown for you?
No. Usually, especially like on the baggers or even the dynos, assuming it doesn't need other parts, it's a couple hours to get the alignment dialed.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a game changer. A lot of times, especially dynos with mileage, sometimes those can present a lot of things. Like I've seen the swing arms have as much as 60 thousandths of movement in it. So, sometimes before you can get the alignment corrected, you have to correct these other components that are then going to have an effect on it.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. Yeah. The things that are important on a Harley, nobody wants to do and pay attention to. Harleys, I get it. They're expensive to build, and you want people to notice the money you spent on them. I totally get that, but I mean,
to your point, people spend $1,500 on brake rotors.
Yeah,
just because you can point at them.
Because you can point at them. Yep, exactly. But it's the same stopping power. It's if you have the same. I get it. But I'm a Harley guy. That's what I ride. It's what I like. But I am also a realist, and the way I ride my bike and the way I want to ride my bike, there's a lot of work that it takes to make a Harley be the bike that I want it to be. Some people want it to just get on the thing, put their cup holder on it with their stock everything, and just run it the way that it is. Yeah. But even at that, there are things that are like a suspension that you should address still on a Harley. There are things that you need to address on it, and that's the reality of it. But my point is, unfortunately, sometimes it's the things that you don't want to spend money on that are the best bang for your buck in terms of tuning, alignment, suspension. A lot of the things nobody will know you spent $5,000 on. but you as the rider will appreciate it that much more. And I like your mindset with the approach of what you're trying to build for a customer is the rider experience.
Yeah. And what's wild too is when you do spend that money on it, you then kick yourself in the butt because you wish you would have spent it sooner.
First. Yep.
You know?
Yep. It's usually what happens. I say the same thing with suspension. Like, well, can only buy the back, or I can only do the front, or I don't want to do the front. I'm like, yeah, but as soon as you do that, it'll magnify what that is, and then you're going to end up spending the money anyway. It's just, so my advice for you on a Harley is the first things that you're going to want to spend your money on are things that are not going to get you the points and the stairs and the glitz and the glam, but you will enjoy your bike more than the person that went to go spend the money on the glitz and the glam and the fame and the look and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You will, if you're in it to really ride it, go spend your money on the things that nobody's even going to know you spent money on. You can get the Olins, do the Olins so you can have the reservoirs and people can at least point or something. You could do that, but nobody's going to know that you did it in the front. Nobody's going to know that you took it to get it tuned and it runs 10 times better than it did 10 minutes ago. Nobody's going to know that stuff. The rider will, man. That's what I think. Spend your money.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the more you enjoy your bike, the more likely you are to want to invest even more into it.
And ride it. And ride it,
Yeah, but I mean, like you're saying too, even the alignment and all that, you could have two exact bikes.
Yep.
Same parts, everything. And this guy could have, like you said, the dyno tune, the alignment that nobody sees. And then you swap riders, and the rider on the other bike's gonna go, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get my bike tuned and aligned, man, because this thing fucking is on rails. You know what I mean?
Rider experience, man. I think that's a very good way to be able to introduce people to what you're trying to do for them and their bike and what your shop is kind of trying to build for clientele out there, is that kind of rider experience. What are you trying to do with the bike? And let's build it for that type of experience. And that's a good approach to it, man. And some people, there's a lot.
No, it really is.
I think it'll build loyalty. It'll build, a good reputation. That is what people will go out and tell other people. Believe me, I know. I've seen them. There are shops out there that are just like, what do you want? I'll take your money, and just they'll do it, knowing that knowing that you'll need to come back, or knowing that it's not what you're gonna be looking for. That's great and all. That'll probably stop them from coming back another time. Maybe you can take their money once or twice, but hopefully they learn their lesson. But when you find a good shop that that you can tell has your best interest, your best riding interest at heart, pull up a chair, sit down, take note and look at them.
Yeah, I feel like the best thing you could do for a customer is set up the bike to where all they have to do is add gas.
That's a good way to put it, man. That's a damn good way to put it, man. That's a damn good way to put it. Well, I want to let people know, of course, where they can get a hold of you, man. How they can get a hold of you. Where is all of what's the best way and where they can keep up?
Oh yeah, so probably Instagram is one of the best ways to keep up with what's going on. And then as far as getting a hold of me, there's also cafescustoms.com website that has stuff. We do have like our own little hard line of parts, which I brought a couple to just show real
Yeah, let
quick.
me see those, man.
So uh, back to rider experience, floorboard spacing or control spacing is one of my absolute favorite things. So floorboard spacers for the touring bikes and for soft tails. It'll space your floorboards out. So especially since '08 when they came out with the larger gas tank, your knees would always be rubbing on the gas tank. So by spacing the floorboards out more, instead of part of your foot hanging off the edge of the floorboard, it puts the floorboard completely under your foot, gives you better clearance on most exhaust systems, and it also gives you better steering leverage with your feet. So coming out of a turn, you can just push with your foot instead of having to pull on the bike. And then also for guys who like to keep their bike clean, spacing it out now like gives you more room to get a towel between the primary and the footboard bracket. And then floorboard spacer's been out, for a long time. This is actually one of my ideas for Dyna's mid-control spacers. They'll space your mid-control brackets out, which again give you more leverage on peg steering, get your knees off the tank, and relieves a lot of pressure off your hips while you're riding. The guys I put them on that are commuters absolutely love these things. There's just so many
So
great
these
benefits
go
in between the
where
frame and
in between the frame and the bracket,
Mhm.
and you use both.
Yes,
Okay.
to achieve like the spacing.
This
I do have some guys who, will only use one out of them, and not that I'm a stunt rider, but I have given them to like Trent over at Cruci Originals, and
Okay.
he likes to sell them a lot. They're game changer for the guys doing wheelies when they hook their foot under the peg.
Yeah. Okay.
Like they get way better leverage and
So this is like a half inch that is pushing it out.
almost
Yeah,
I
that's
kind of dig that.
that's
Pretty cool.
thanks, man. I need it for a minute. Um, it's amazing how much.
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing what a half inch will do in terms like that. I totally understand what you're saying with like with the spacers like this. I don't have a floorboards on mine anymore, but I do have an '08, and I've ridden early model ones. And you're right, that does they're sucked in a little bit more, so it makes your knees kind of
yeah.
have to go around the tank. This is what, maybe 3/4 of an inch or something like that on this thing. So that much of that's it is all it takes to completely change like the ergonomics of the riding position, and how you can maybe do another 100 miles, 50 miles just because you're not fatigued. It's stupid how like it's interesting, but also stupid
I
how
know what
something
he's
so
saying,
simple.
because when I'm doing wheelies and stuff, I mean my freaking knee, dude, gets me all the time on my left side. Quite a bit when I come down, or if I'm squeezing the tank too tight, man, bam, it will get me every time, dude. And I'm like, man,
Yeah, no, it's just something,
yeah, I might have to look into those.
exciting.
It's cool.
I'm gonna have to look into those.
Another item I got that I came up with is a chain roller for M8 Softails, so bolts directly to the frame, and then it's like just a little roller. So
That's
you know,
nice.
For
especially
chain drive?
yeah, especially for guys with taller suspension, it's hard to maintain a good chain adjustment with that much travel and height. So not just
So what is this? This bolts onto what part of the
yeah,
this
so
bolts onto the swing arm?
no,
Or
to the frame. So there's a pre-existing hole in the frame that mates to, and then this part locates into the frame, and then
oh, I see.
just prevents it from
On the bottom side,
rotating.
on the bottom
So
side.
all of these are like sections of the frame that are kind of keep it locked, keep it in place.
It's solid.
It's on the bottom side, right?
Yep. Yeah. So work with bikes with or without the ST bags. I have different lengths of bolt that go with it, but just a cool little thing that I came up with and put into production. And
That's cool, man.
It's really
actually,
cool.
it's one of my top sellers. Even a guy in Italy bought one.
That's cool. And this looks like it's fully replaceable when
yeah,
when
so I sell a wheel service kit that comes with a fresh bolt, lock nut, and wheel. So just easy to service it once you have it on there.
mm-hmm.
Gotten lots of good
Yeah,
feedback.
super cool.
Um, but yeah, so got a website. That's a good spot to get a hold of me. Google Maps got tons of reviews on Google.
Cool.
If I've ever done any work for you, please leave a 5-star review on Google. My goal is to get to 200 this year. I'm at like 170. So
All right.
yeah.
It's weird how important that is for business, right?
It's a huge benefit because I tell people all the time, I'm like, you don't got to believe a word I said, but there's over 100 people that have something to say about the shop. So read what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those reviews are like novels. They've brought me to my knees in tears just saying, thank
dope.
you, God,
That's dope,
Yeah.
man. That's good, man. That speaks volumes, People nowadays, especially in the world that we're in, what's the reviews? What's the reviews? You go to the product, what's the review? What are people saying about it? And we all have we all have our the availability nowadays to give our opinion and voice our opinion so easily.
Oh, yeah.
And for a business, that is your reputation, is your customers saying what they think about you. So yeah, from a business end and from a service business end of it, I understand how important that is for a business like yourself to have that backing from the people that are out there, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you've been a customer, make sure you go and give them a review on it, So
I appreciate
all
it.
these parts you can buy them on your website and stuff as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Some ideas, man. I'm sure it's just time working on bikes where you just go like, I could make something to help out with that,
Yeah.
And then you come across that, man. So hit him up, man. Casey, I appreciate you rolling down, man, taking some time out of your day to come down and hang out with us. and Cafes Customs.
That's right.
Cafes Customs. Where is the shop? I don't think we mentioned exactly where it is, where they can find you.
So it's in Temecula, California, off of Interstate 15 in Winchester would be the major crossroads, and I'm on the west side of the freeway, back in the industrial parks.
Okay.
So if you got a smartphone, type it into your maps, and it'll pop right up. It's
Right on,
easy
homeboy.
to find.
Well, we tell everyone the same thing, brother. Once you're here, you're kind of family. So anytime you want to come and hang out with us, you want to do anything, man, this is home now. You got a place to come and kick it here
Yeah,
in the 805 all the time, man. So
awesome.
do appreciate you rolling down, taking some time out of your busy schedule, away from your family, and just coming down and hanging out with us, man. It was a good time. We'll have you again. We'll do some more geeking out on some motorcycle. I can always geek out on motorcycle stuff. You sound.
Yeah.
We'll do one like a
Maybe
full
we'll come down to
educational
a
too.
shop one
Yeah.
time.
For sure. Yeah, get Joe's bike tuned for God's sake, because it aligned. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, I'm gonna ask you actually. I'll ask you when we get off of here, but I was gonna ask you a few questions.
Yeah,
right on, man. So thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. As always, make sure that you check us out every Thursday. Is that when we're on, Joe? Every Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when the podcasts drop over on the YouTube, and then every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, trying to drop our vlogs. The vlogs are getting some steam over there, Joe. The people are kind of digging along, coming along.
Yeah.
I don't know why. We're just a bunch of dorks and stuff that are out there bringing you along for the ride, man. But the vlogs are having fun, man, and everyone's starting to chime in on those. So make sure you check those out over on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
I want to acknowledge you guys, man. You guys put out some
Appreciate
great content. You guys put in some hard work. What you've done with this place is absolutely amazing, and it's cool to be on the viewer side watching your guys' journey.
That's cool, man. We
Very much
appreciate that, man.
appreciate it, man.
It's the fire that keeps our ass going when we have
Yeah.
solid people remind us of that stuff.
Yep.
Because Joe and I are constantly like, what are we doing? We are constantly doing that, man, on a regular. But I guess on the other end of it, the viewer side, we don't see it always from that point of view, and it's humbling, and the fire.
I see it. I just can't stand watching myself.
Yeah,
It's like 30 seconds. I'm like, nope.
It's still weird, man. So I appreciate that. I know Joe does, man. It's a passion. It's a love. It makes it easy when it's like that. You know that you're doing it for 20 plus years. It's a business, of course. There's stress that comes along with it, but you get it, man. You get it. So appreciate you coming down and hanging out with us, man. Until the next one, guys. Later. Peace. Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Questions.
Oh, shit, man. I should have said, hey, I got some questions right here.
I mean, you still can if you want.
Let's do it. Let's do a little aftermath one. Here, I'm still recording on this. All right. We'll do it. We can use this one for the reels and stuff.
A little short or something like that.
Can I read them?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just getting you laced up with it. So.
Okay.
Always happens.
Always happens, I know.
That's all right. Wait. I don't know how you view them all, but
Just like
there
that.
you go.
Raise the whiz on that
All right.
stuff.
All right, so we just got done with our podcast with Casey from Cafes Customs, and we suck.
Had such a good time.
But we had some questions. Casey threw a little thing out on
What?
Instagram.
This right here just gave me an idea. This is how these ideas. Maybe this is what we start with the Patreon. Like we do this, and you start a little Patreon, and we do a little side stuff like this, where it's like, hey, 10 questions we have.
Yeah, so he's got some customers and followers that had some questions, and we'll see
I
what they
drive
got.
up here. I posted that I was coming up here, and then I put a question page like, "What do you want to know about
Yeah.
Cafes Customs?"
They look like they're all from your wife, man. I'm just.
Yeah, when are you gonna be home?
Man, God bless my wife.
Oh man.
Amazing.
Okay. Let's see. Let me see which one we want to ask here. Okay, this is a good one. All right. So, what are some affordable upgrades guys can make to their bikes to make their rider safer, more reliable? Affordable upgrades.
Portable upgrades. So, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is foot spacing. Doesn't matter the bike, like getting your feet spaced so you're more comfortable. Because when you're more comfortable, you're typically in better control of the bike. And like I would say, even uh, like a good service to like your brake fluid, your brakes, your braking system, your tires. Like, this is kind of a hard one because I don't know if the bike is new or used, but just really like focusing on what's important, where the rubber meets the road.
Yep.
The
Good advice.
maintenance.
Yeah, and also comfortability too. I would say like, um, I even want to circle back to like new riders. Like before you do anything to your bike, find the right saddle. Because once you have the right saddle that fits you, then you can find the right set of bars that fit you. You can find
Yep.
everything else that then fits you better. But if you're not comfortable on the bike, it's going to mess with your mind. And I feel like 90% of riding is mental,
Yep.
so.
Well, there's one thing that is constant that is never off of the bike. Your ass,
Mhm.
your feet, and your hands. They're always on the bike. Every time you're riding, they are on the bike. And if you don't get those correct, long journey.
And then if you ride at night, invest in good lighting.
That's a good. Yeah, lighting can be cheap, can
Mhm.
also be expensive. We
Yeah.
know that, but you get what you pay for, right? There's always that aspect of it. All right, how about this one? This is a good one. I think I've asked Joe this one before. All right. Let's hear about your dream bike if money wasn't an option.
You know, I saw that one on my way up here, and I was like,
There's so many, huh?
explain it because it's like, oh man, my dream bike if money wasn't an option. Well, it'd have to be like, no matter what bike it was, a crank up motor build with a balance crank, like power. But I'm like, can this be bikes like plural where I set one bike for towing to tow another bike? But but then I started thinking about it. I'm like, if money wasn't an option, it wouldn't really be about the bike. It'd be about how long time could I have to go visit destinations and have an experience.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, because the dream bike would probably sit where a regular bike would be ridden.
Depends what type of bike you want,
Yeah,
what you consider your dream bike, right?
yeah, I mean, and it's tough because I like riding dirt, I like riding streets, so I'd want something that's a combo of the two. But I will say the most favorite bike I probably have ever owned was a 2006 Buell Ulysses. That was the predecessor before the Pan Am. It was like a dual sport street bike. It had like the Buell XB motor in it, and I got that bike brand new with 2 miles, put like 65,000 miles on it, on and off road, and I could carve the canyons. I could rally it up the fire roads. Like the bike was comfortable. I had luggage. It had good suspension, like uh, 8 piston brake caliper. Like that was the one that like I kind of wish I would have never sold.
We all have that one. We
But
all have that one.
but I was a huge Buell geek for so long, and then I like this is actually something I didn't even mention on the podcast. Uh, I worked on Harleys for 11 years before I ever owned a Harley because I was so much into bikes that perform.
Dude.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the truth, man. That's the truth, man. Oh, all right. Oh, yeah, we lost the questions. All right, let's do one more. Let's do one more here. I gotta go use the head. All right. I'm going to the paper this in case you got a lot of fucking shit. Go get it done. And I don't think that was a question. That was just all right. All right. Okay. All right. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. Best tuner.
That's actually a compliment I kind of struggle with because I still feel like I'm so new to the tuning game. But man, thank you to anyone who's ever let me tune their bike because I've only been doing it for like I've only had the dyno up and running for about 3 years, and I'm pretty sure I've tuned over 300 bikes, and
Wow.
like it's like my heroin. I love it. And I like to call my tunes the Blue Magic, like kind of in reference to Breaking Bad because it's straight speed.
I like that one,
So
man.
the Blue Magic Tuner, not Thunder Max, not Dynajet, the Blue Magic Tuner.
Part is with all the tuning devices, they're only going to do what they're told to do. So unless they're set up correctly, especially like a Thunder Max, unless like a human actually dials it in and then you dial it in on the machine, then then the auto tunes can be beneficial.
I got you.
Because just recently I tuned a dyno that had a Thunder Max that was previously tuned, or maybe it was just on whatever autopilot mode, but we gained 10 horsepower, a whole lot more torque, and it's like now that can then do what it's supposed to do as intended by design.
So let me ask you this question then. Out of all the tuners that are out there, what is the one that you feel is like maybe easier to work with or just best for the bike, or I don't know, like I know everyone does something different,
Yeah,
but
there's a few different tuners. I feel like Techno Research is one of the best ones out there with like the way their software tunes. Unfortunately, you can't buy the licenses in North America anymore.
oh,
Yeah, so but Techno Research, DynoJet, Thunder Max, those are like my three main ones. On these newer 24 and later like CVO Harleys with the BBT and stuff. I've been doing a lot of impact wiring solutions tuning with those.
okay.
So I mean they all have some pros and cons,
Of
but
course.
it's just but they you can make them all work good.
You got to
You know?
find the right tuner.
Yeah,
Got to find the right person to geek out on that
that's
thing,
right.
man. Right on, man. Well, cool, man. Appreciate it, dog.
Yeah.